Top 10 Notorious Mount Everest Climbing Deaths. Mount Everest, the world's highest peak, is a mesmerizing yet treacherous destination for climbers from around the globe. Each year, countless adventurers are drawn to its imposing summit, captivated by the allure of conquering nature's most formidable challenge. In this video, we will explore 10 notorious climbing deaths on Mount Everest, shedding light on their circumstances, the climbers involved, and the lessons learned from these tragic events. 10. The first fatalities on Mount Everest's slopes. In 1922, Mount Everest witnessed its first climbing fatalities during an expedition led by George Mallory and Andrew Irvine. The team was attempting to reach the summit when an avalanche struck, claiming the lives of 7 Sherpas. This tragic event foreshadowed the perilous nature of Everest expeditions and marked the beginning of a long history of climbing deaths on the world's highest peak. 9. The tragic story of George Mallory and Andrew Irvine. George Mallory and Andrew Irvine's 1924 expedition remains one of Everest's greatest mysteries. As they attempted to summit, they disappeared, leaving the climbing community to wonder if they had reached the peak. Mallory's body was found in 1999, providing some clues but no definitive answers. The question of whether they conquered Everest before their demise continues to intrigue adventurers and historians alike. 8. The 1996 Everest disaster. A day of unimaginable horror. The 1996 Everest disaster remains one of the deadliest days on the mountain. A fierce storm hit as climbers from multiple expeditions, including those led by Hall and Scott Fischer, were making their summit attempts. The sudden onslaught of extreme weather resulted in the deaths of 8 climbers. The disaster exposed critical issues, such as the dangers of summit fever, the impact of delayed decision-making, and the deadly consequences of overcrowding on the slopes. 7. The unsolved mystery of Francis Arsentive. Francis Arsentive's 1998 Everest ascent ended tragically due to severe altitude sickness during her descent. Despite her partner's valiant efforts, she ultimately perished. Her body remained on the mountain, with other climbers reportedly passing by, unable or unwilling to assist. 6. The death of David Sharp and the ethical dilemma of Everest. David Sharp's death in May 2006 ignited a fierce debate about the ethics of rescue on Everest. The British climber was seen in distress by many on their way to the summit, yet most continued their ascent. This incident starkly exposed the moral complexities climbers face, balancing personal ambition against the duty to aid others. 5. The harrowing fate of Tshewang Samanla and Dorje Mora. Tshewang Samanla and Dorje Mora were experienced Indian climbers caught in a deadly blizzard during their 2013 ascent. Despite their expertise, they faced insurmountable challenges and ultimately had to turn back. Battling extreme weather conditions and dwindling resources, they tragically succumbed during their descent. 4. The chilling end of Rob Hall and Doug Hansen. Rob Hall, the head of Adventure Consultants, and Doug Hansen faced a dire situation during the May 1996 disaster. After successfully summiting, the pair became stranded in a brutal storm on their descent. Rob Hall's final radio transmission with his wife remains a poignant moment in climbing history, capturing the raw emotion and peril faced by those on Everest. 3. The legacy of Yuji Hirayama and Hiroshi Sato. In 1999, esteemed Japanese climbers Yuji Hirayama and Hiroshi Sato embarked on an ambitious ascent of Everest via a new route. Their journey, filled with promise, turned tragic as both succumbed to the relentless forces of altitude sickness and severe weather conditions. Their endeavor underscored the inherent dangers of high-altitude mountaineering and the necessity of cautious preparation. 2. The unfortunate demise of Peter Kinloch. Peter Kinloch, a determined British climber, achieved his dream of summiting Everest in 2011. However, his triumph turned tragic during the descent when he was caught in a sudden blizzard. The severe weather drastically reduced visibility and conditions, complicating his journey back down. Despite efforts by his team to save him, Kinloch succumbed to the extreme conditions. 1. The Everest tragedy of 2019, a year of record fatalities. The 2019 climbing season on Everest witnessed a tragic surge in fatalities, with at least 11 climbers losing their lives. The primary factor was severe overcrowding, as an unprecedented number of permits led to traffic jams near the summit. Climbers were forced to wait in the notorious death zone, where prolonged exposure to thin air can be deadly.